As Guy said, my name is Helge. I head the part of the project that's to do with production, which means I'm also the person you'll probably be dealing mostly with going forwards. So my job now is to try and take everything that Geir and Eirik and Robert has shared and tell you what this means for you and what we want to buy, what's going to be in our bid going forwards. I'll also share with you a little bit what we have today and how we see the future with the media asset management on the media asset management side. So we've used this drawing a couple of times, and the specific areas that we are interested in procuring is this part here. So of course the media asset management system for production, workflow engine, and there will also be an option in the bid for a scheduling and ingest solution for baseband and IP. I'll get back to that towards the end of the presentation. So what we're looking for is really a logistics platform. We want something that's faster, simpler, very solid compared to what we have today. And we have huge demand for building complex workflows for our users. We have demand to make things simpler than it is today. And we need to make things that works for our entire user base. And that's really what we need your help achieving. Of course, it also needs to be easy to maintain and support, and I'll get back to a few more details regarding that as well. As you've probably seen from Robert's presentation, we are not looking to buy a system that will sit in a corner and be only about itself. So we really need a system with solid APIs. We won't dictate how you construct your system, of course, but we do enjoy systems with a clear separation between the front end and the back end. And ideally, we want to use the same APIs that you are using to build your own UIs. We like systems that gossip. As Geir said, we do a lot of UI stuff ourselves. And the reason we do that is not because we don't think there are people who do UI better than us. We know that there's a lot of great UIs out there. But as Geir mentioned in his presentation, NRK has a very complex infrastructure. There's a lot of system that goes into getting something from a camera that we have back there all the way out to the web or on the radio. And we want to make sure that that complexity is hidden away from the user. Today we took a stock of some user groups that we noticed had a lot of UIs that they had to initiate or to work with in order to do their job, and I think we counted 15 or 16 systems for certain users. And these aren't overly technical users either. It's just that they've been put in a position where they have to interact with a bit of everything. And with regards to the UIs, we started with the editing systems. So this is an example from Adobe Premiere, where we built search functionality and export functionality that allows the users just to bring things in and export things out. So you could do things to go on air, you could go on air and to the web, or you could just send things to the radio. We did the same thing with Quantel. Luckily, both Adobe and Quantel want us to use HTML5 based integration, which is great for us because it means we can reuse components. And then once we've already done that in Quantel and Premiere, we figured out that this is already web technology, so why not just extend that to make this functionality available in the regular web page as well. So this is all built on top of our current media asset management system. And as Robert mentioned in his presentation, we have shared components, UI components, that we use both in the radio archive and in this application called Potion. And we have a couple of other applications that share that same UI framework as well. And that means we can get a very recognizable user interface across different parts of our production pipeline, but without having to cram everything into one UI. So just a couple more examples here. This is how we expose users to putting on metadata to go to the web. And very importantly, status, we actually show every bit of what's happening when you send something to the web, for example. Previously, it used to be that users would send something to the web, and then they would wait the amount of time or the length of the clip plus about twice the length of the clip plus a little bit more, and then they would call support if nothing had happened on the other end. So I think it's really important to maintain an efficient operation to actually tell users where in the process is your clip, and if something goes wrong, tell them what goes wrong and where to turn for help. So that's something we've spent a lot of time doing. And we will, this UI is something we plan to continue on in this project as well. So we'll plug your system into our backend part and continue using this UI for the most common operations. But then hopefully you're bringing a lot to the table on the UI side as well, because we don't want to do everything. We want to do the things that a lot of our users do often. Everything else we'd leave to you. So just to give you a bit of a background about how we got to where we are right now. I imagine a lot of you have heard about the NRK Program Bank project. It was first thought of in 2003. The project was started in 2005, and our first kind of on-air experience with it was 1st of December 2007. And the goal of the Program Bank project was to make NRK file-based, to go from tape to files, and that's actually something we achieved. And everyone who was working in the Origo project owns a huge thanks to the people who did this before, because they kind of done all the bad and good experiences, and we can just build on that. So that's a very good situation for us to be in, and that's also why we think that we know quite well where we want to take it next. So the goal of that project was, of course, easy sharing across the organization, easy access to archive material. It was metadata for searching and basic rights management. And of course, every time you do projects in the multi-million-dollar phase, the heads of your company want some time and cost-saving workflows. Of course, important. We also started a new television channel, our children's channel, in conjunction with the Program Bank project. And that channel couldn't have been started without going file-based. It would have been too expensive. And of course, this is going to be true when we do this project as well. No disruption in day-to-day production. We can't stop broadcasting for 3 months to put in a new system. We have to make sure that we can do this as everything is up and running. And it was important in that project, and also important now, that we think about functionality and workflows and not think about boxes. Here is just a few of the vendors and a few of the systems that we have today, and a bit of the functionality as well that we have in our current media asset management system. And this is, of course, the system that Eirik was telling you before today that has been discontinued. So it's no longer being developed. We still have some support, but I think both the NRK and the vendor would like us to move on to something else. So I'll just share with you a quick couple of slides, which is actually what we use for basic training when we tell our users about the Program Bank. So the workflow is quite simple. We have our media grid. We have video sources coming into that media grid. Then we can do editing. Today, before it used to be Final Cut Pro, now it's Adobe Premiere for the media grid stuff. Once the user has finished editing, they'll publish it back to the media grid, back to the Program Bank, and it will go on air. We have proxies, of course, so that people can look at the stuff that's in the system. We only have 2 formats today, 2 video formats in the Program Bank. That's IMX50 for SD and XDCAM-HD 422 for HD. And I'll get back to why that's a bad thing, why we want to expand that a little bit. in the future. So this here is what we in NRK refer to as a domain. And we have multiple domains. We have, I think it's 16 in total. Many of them are similar, so most of them are similar. Then we have a huge Quantel installation here in Oslo, and that's also something we'll continue doing. And we have our archive, which is a tape robot. Between the regions, between the domains, people can watch proxies, and you can dub or copy media across. And the reason why it's constructed like this is that when the program bank was built, this was really the only way to ensure operation in each region and each physical location if something somewhere else went down. This is not necessarily how we want to do this going forwards, and I'll talk a bit more about that. So this is a map of Norway. We're about here today. Our northernmost office is up here. I think that's about the distance from here to Rome. So it's a fairly long and narrow country. NRK has 16 program bank domains. So those are 8 regional sites, so smaller regional offices. They all have the same basic installation, but just different sizes. There's 3 regional centers. Those are a little bit larger. And then we have our NRK Sápmi, which is the channel for the indigenous population in Norway. They do a lot of collaboration with Russia, Finland, and Sweden. We have another office here in Oslo. And then we have 3 domains here at this site. So that's the new site, which is Quantel based. We have the archive, and then of course we have the sort of main production site. We also have a bunch of local offices, and I think last time we did a count, I think NRK is present in about, was it 70? 50 places? Yeah, give or take, across Norway. And we estimate that about 4,000 clips are moved around with the program bank every day, approximately 1,500 users. And we have somewhere in the region of 200, 250 video ports around the country. Each of these offices are connected with, we have a WAN network that connects these offices together. Depending on the size of the office, the speed of that connection ranges between 100 megabits and 1,000 megabits. So, and it is possible to change and enhance that. So if that's something that's important going forwards. So I said that the structure that we have today with regards to domains is not necessarily something we want to continue with. And this is a question that will be posed to you during the bid. We have some ideas on how to do this. One thought could be that instead of having all these full media asset management installations, we could think more about an NRK cloud, have one installation, but still we would need to have local storage, local transcoding, etc. on each site, because each site are a television channel in their own right, so they'll need to have their local stuff. But maybe on the metadata side, we could think more about a cloud approach to this. So with the different sites just going beneath it. Of course, very importantly, that cloud or whatever we end up calling it would have to be site redundant. So we couldn't put 2 systems here in Oslo and just say, oh, we got redundancy now. There would need to be the option that Oslo went down and then something else would take over. But we're very open to discussing how we would do this, if it would be one solution for kind of a redundancy and one solution for disaster recovery. We're very open, but these are some of the ideas that we have. Just to point that out, storage is not part of this bid, so this is only really on the metadata side. Robert has talked a lot about how we do asset handling in the metadata bank and in that part of the project. And I'll just have a couple of bullet points about what I think this will mean for you. One of them is of course a customizable data model. Being able to have unique IDs that are shared across systems is very important. we need a way, or you will need a way to connect to our authority registers, quite open as well on how to do this, but we need to have those both in your system and in our system. With metadata hierarchy, what we're talking about there is going back to what Robert showed at the very end with the, where you have an asset that's part of an episode, that's part of a program, that's part of a season, that's part of a story. So that kind of relationship is important. We also want to do more interesting things with versioning than what we have today. Today, we could have 4 separate assets in the archive with the exact same content. So you have one HD version, one SD version, one dirty SD version, one dirty HD version, one clean, etc. We'd really want to see if we could connect those together in more of a logical relationship than what we have today. And support for temporal metadata or time-based, timeline-based metadata. And as I mentioned before, we will of course need to know what's happening inside of your system. I said it before, we like systems that gossip, we like systems that we can listen to and see what's going on. And another really, really important part, I said initially about the logistics platform, and that's very important. We want to use for your workflow engine, this is something that we definitely don't want to do ourselves. We want something that's customizable. And customizable could mean different things, of course, but it could mean custom activities, ability to do scripting, integration, of course. We definitely want to be able to build our own workflows. So train us and we'll build our own workflows, and then we don't have to bother you on the phone every time something changes. Good monitoring, both in terms of what's going on in the system, but also to monitor the health of the system. I showed you the slide with the status view, and we definitely want information about that. And then, as I said, we want this to be the workflow engine that we use not only for the assets that are in the media asset management system, but also for other things. So we'd like to use your workflow engine to drive other operations as well. Again, not going to dictate how we achieve that. It could be that as part of the workflow, the asset is imported and then something's processed and then it's out of the system again. It's not important how we do it, just it's an important functionality. And of course, it's positive if you already have support for common broadcast solutions like transcoders and other systems. When it comes to scalability, we really want the system where software isn't the limitation. Probably not a big chance right now, but if the government came to us and said NRK is going to grow by 2,000 people, we want to be able to add more hardware to the solution that we purchased if that's needed to scale the system. We expect to have more than 1,000 simultaneous users, somewhere in the neighborhood of 10,000 active jobs at any given moment. And again, as you probably guessed, there will be third-party systems listening into what you have to say. And they will want real-time access to any changes that's happening inside of your system. And millions of assets, probably. Storage is not part of this bid. We will reuse, so we have a lot of different types of storage today. We have Quantel storage, we have the harmonic media grids, we have Exxon storage, we have EMC Iceland storage. As part of the Origo project, there is a process to look at kind of what's NRK's long-term strategy with regards to storage going to be. But what we ask from you is really to be storage agnostic. And during the bid phase and the pre-bid phase, we will ask you about how you communicate with storage and how you manage storage. So how do you prefer your own folder structure? Do you listen in on file system events? All those kinds of things are really interesting to us. So please share that information. I mentioned that today we only support 2 formats in the program bank. And that's actually one of the reasons why many users prefer to work outside the program bank and only use the program bank to get archive assets and to publish when they want to go on air. So we want the new system to be media agnostic. meaning not only video files, but also maybe graphics, audio. We don't want the system to be the limitation there. And of course, support different video formats. There will be part of the bid that's optional, and that's the ingest and scheduling. We will include this in the bid as an option because when we looked at the market, we noticed that it was only really either the video server vendors or the MAM vendors that had this functionality. But it's not something that will count toward the final score, meaning that we won't exclude anyone if they don't have this functionality. But we include it in the bid, and based on your feedback, we will see what we do with it. So finally, I think this is a very important thing to say. We're looking for a partner. We're looking for someone who thinks what Robert said today and what Geir said today and what Eirik said today is an interesting thing, something that you find exciting and that you kind of share in our vision, that you share our thoughts about where things are headed. And that's also why we will try to make sure that the bid is a bit more open than usual, to get your input during that process. And Kristen, who's about 2 minutes away from being able to being allowed to speak, will share a bit more about that process. But we're really interested in what you think about our vision and how you would incorporate your ideas and your systems inside that vision.